And we're back. I'm Bill Hellkamp of Reach Development Systems. And of course, with me today is Professor Scott Plum of the Minnesota Sales Institute.
What is the difference between sales and marketing? Who is responsible for generating revenue? There are many challenges both departments struggle with on working together to achieve revenue goals. However, there are methods for greater cooperation. In today's show, our guest, Greg Pomerantz, will discuss the relationship between sales and marketing, plus many more topics on episode 415 of Get in the Door podcast.
Well, we're going to start off with our book club, and we are just getting near the end of The Magic of Thinking Big by David J. Schwartz. We're in chapter 12, Use Goals to Help You Grow. And I know that every successful person that I've talked to is a goal setter. They don't just start each day wondering what's going to happen. Dr. Schwartz said nothing happens until a goal is established, whether that goal is written down, something in your mind. That goal is the first thing that you have to get started with. So, Scott, are you a goal setter?
I do set some goals. I don't set goals in all areas. I struggle with that a little bit, and I want to be receptive to the changes that are in the marketplace and be able to look for opportunities. And sometimes if I set goals, I limit myself and I overlook opportunities. So I balance the two, which I know is not exactly right, but it's just something that's worked for me so far to get where I am today.
I think we all have to find our own ways of setting goals. I know that Dr. Schwartz talks about developing a 10-year plan, which I've never been good at. If I can look a year out, I'm doing pretty good. I have an idea of what my 10-year plan is. And Scott, you and I have talked about that a little bit, how we want to organize our businesses. But he talks about a 10-year plan in business or career, family, social, and health. So he does like to encompass those things. And I do find that if I put some health goals out there or some social goals out there of people that I want to meet or get to know better, it will at least force me to start looking for those opportunities before the whole year is up, because a year can disappear so fast.
I think about my weight. I mean, we'd use the scale to determine where we are. If we measure that, then we're able to manage it and we're able to set goals on where we want to be, and we'll adjust our behavior accordingly.
Right. But you can't look at that scale every day and get disappointed because you didn't see enough movement.
I do look at that scale every day and get disappointed. But in the morning, that determines how I spend my time.
Well, I know when I started using a daily meal planner, or not a planner, but something that counted the calories for me, it helped me to eat just a little bit less, because not because I made great choices, but because I was aware of it every day, what I was doing and how it was affecting me and where I was making mistakes. So I think that journaling can be important to look at what you're doing and whether you spent your day well from a business or a career standpoint. Did I spend my day well? I know you've talked about looking at every day and looking back and triaging the day to see what you did.
Well, debriefing it and look at, what went really well. If I had a chance to do it over again, what would I do different? What would I duplicate? And I think we need to be able to manage our time and what we're going to trade it for and how we're going to manage it and what we're expecting from it. So
I think if we just take 5 minutes and write down 4 or 5 key things I want to do today, we'd get more done.
Yeah, those would be the highlights of the day.
Yep.
Those are the key performance indicators of the success of the day. And those are most likely what's most important and what's most urgent. We've talked about that in the past.
Yeah. He talks about making career and life choices, 3 areas or where we get those life choices from. He talks about family expectations being one. So I know that my family was expected to go to college. It wasn't a discussion that we were going to have. It was which college you're going to. So that I know that affected my life, and it was in a positive way, although I'm not as much of a college person now as I used to be because I don't think they do a good job. High school counselors, I've always wondered what they know about counseling. A friend of mine said, look at the car the high school counselor is driving. And if you wouldn't want to drive that car after 20 years in your career, maybe he's not the right person to give you counseling.
Wow.
And then my favorite one is, hey, they're hiring at the plant. Okay, I'll go try that. And 30 years later, you're working at the plant.
Right. We slip into those ruts. That's complacency. We get really comfortable. And you look at complacency, it really holds us back from growth. We get so comfortable where we are and we just don't want to change anything. And life goes on and time goes by. And all of a sudden you wake up and you're 60 years old. And it's like, wait a minute, what happened?
And I think businesses are happy to let you in some ways become fearful or complacent. I know that I've worked with people in retail, or I've met people in retail. I used to be in retail myself, and it can kind of be a low paying, more of a dead end career. And I'll see people, they've worked at Target for 20 years and they're making $13.50 an hour. And I don't know how they live off of that. And they're sharp people, but they're just afraid to go out and try another job. They just hold themselves back.
Sometimes I've noticed that I met one person that works at a hotel. They worked at a hotel for 30 years and they're still working at a hotel in the banquets. And it's not about the job. It's about what the money will do for them and what they do with the money and the lifestyle that they lead with the money that they earn. And they're perfectly happy and it's safe and it's normal and it's predictable. And that's what they want. Some people like that. Some people don't. I would get bored, and I do get bored quick, not quickly, but give me a year and a half on something, I get pretty bored.
Well, you're kind of getting into what he talked about, what Dr. Schwartz talked about with ways to commit suicide, success suicide, he called it. And one of the ones was security-itis, which I know he talked about as being one of the mistakes we make in life, is to be so security-oriented that we stop ourselves. And I'm broke, but I'm happy.
Right.
I mean, I don't know if I don't know if it's easy to be happy if you're worried every day about having enough money to pay the rent and buy food. I just don't think you can be really happy, even if your job is secure. And is any job secure in today's day and age?
Probably not, unless, of course, you're working for the government. They offer some type of security and pension, etc. That's pretty secure.
Yeah, the interesting thing in all these layoffs that we're in the middle of this COVID thing, I haven't heard of any government worker that's not getting paid.
Right.
So just kind of an interesting thing. So other things he talks about: committing success suicide. That's not easy for me to say. Self-deprecation, meaning we lower our own esteem of ourselves. We don't believe in ourselves. Another one is competition. The field is so crowded. Why should I try going into that field? Parental dictates, parents saying this is what you're going to do. And then we get a family responsibility. And I think that's a big reason people can't change jobs, is because they have 3 kids and a car payment and a house payment. And I better just stay here because I can't take a chance starting something new.
And that might not be a bad decision. It may be something that they have to tolerate for a period of time, but it's worth the commitment because of the priorities that they have in their life and what the money will do for them at the same time.
Right. So the question is, what is success, right? To each individual, it can be something different.
And you look at, success. Sometimes success is everything above fatality. I mean, if you're flying an airplane, what is success? You turn the airplane back to Earth and everybody lived. Success.
A controlled crash has worked out well.
It's on that other side of fatality is success. But it is measured by different people and in different roles and different outcomes. So sometimes success is just surviving. I mean, I think some people look at cold calling and some risks as being, facing annihilation. That's not necessarily true. There are risks that we take that we never die at, but they hold risk back that we take.
So how do you, if you're going to have a big goal or something that you want to accomplish outside of the norm, what is your process or plan for getting that done?
I would look at a timeline first and look at what do I need to accomplish within this specific timeline, breaking it down to the tools and resources and maybe even the people that I need to know in order to achieve that goal, and be able to break down the process as to how that goal is going to be achieved and how much I'm going to have to contribute and how much I'm going to have to wait for, because we are constantly waiting every time we're involved in a goal or an activity to be able to get to where we want to be. But we have to look at the small bite-sized pieces and always feel like we're accomplishing something on a daily basis or a weekly basis and not get discouraged. And it's very easy to get discouraged to talk to one person who thinks that they know it all, and they just cause you to want to not do anything anymore. Just stop. And that's not true.
The negative Nellies that say you'll never finish that or you'll never get that, and they can really take us down with them.
Yeah, and I worked with one last week, and it's like, wow, just really took the wind out of my sails. And, and I just thought to myself, just get a good night's rest and figure it out and work on it tomorrow. And
Right.
I did. And that's exactly what I did. It's just like, well, okay, that's over with. Now we keep moving on.
So you break that accomplishment down into the smaller steps and
Right.
then look for what you can get done weekly as if it were, so that you're moving forward.
Yeah.
And then one final thing he talks about is investing in yourself and your future. And I think that's really important. I know you and I are both readers. I probably don't take enough other classes or do things that are more organized for my own growth. We're both part of PSA, Professional Sales Association, and Sales and Marketing Executives, which we go to faithfully, listening to other speakers and that. What else do you do to grow yourself?
I manage the 3 E's, the education, entertainment, and exercise. And if I look at those 3 areas and I've accomplished a little bit in every one of them, then I did a pretty good day. And continuously exercising and staying moving really helps the brain become creative. You look at barriers of stress, they reduce creativity. So you got to continue to just go out on an hour-long walk or get on a treadmill or do something to just stay active, and you'll be surprised what that does with your mind.
And with so many people working out of their homes, that's something that they have to force themselves to do.
They really do. And then you just need to allocate it and decide to do something in addition to going on a walk. Listen to a podcast. Listen to this podcast. Listen to another podcast. I do that. I listen to a lot of podcasts as I'm out walking. And it's amazing how many calories that you burn when you're out walking. I think you need to have a good goal mate, somebody that you communicate your goals with. They hold you accountable to it, and they celebrate the victories. However, not everybody that you share your goals with wants you to succeed. There are some people that don't. And the negative Nellies are the ones that feel like if you grow, you're going to outgrow them and they're going to get left behind. So sometimes we have to be cautious about who we're going to share our goals with, because not everybody wants us to change and grow.
Yeah. Well, I think that's where a professional coach can come in for you. I don't think we can always even share our goals with our bosses. We tend to obfuscate or lie to them to tell them what we think they want to hear. And both you and I coach. We've got a program we're going to talk about later in the show. But don't wait for your company to say, hey, I'm going to fund some coaching for you. If you have something that's stopping you or keeping you from moving, I think a personal coach in sales or leadership or just in your personal life can help you get over a hump and get you moving forward, help you not have that lack of momentum. So move you forward in some way.
Here's a good position when it comes to a coaching program, and I've worked with other salespeople on this, is that they set a goal. Their sales manager says, I accept that goal. That would be a reasonable goal. And the salesperson says, I would like to get some coaching to be able to build on my techniques and my strategy and mindset, et cetera, to achieve that goal. And I've talked to this sales coach, and it's me, and they say, and here's the investment. And what I'd like to do is I'll pay the investment, but if I reach the goal, I want you to reimburse me for my investment. And this has happened more than once. So it really brings the salesperson invested in reaching the goal. It makes the salesperson invested in the coaching sessions. And those are the most powerful sessions that I've ever had, is when the salesperson writes out the check and the boss says, if you reach this goal, I'll pay you back. Yep. And what a great partnership between the two of them.
And then everything's working together.
Yeah, everybody achieves the goal. Sales managers are willing to invest in salespeople. They are. They just don't know where to invest, and they don't know who to invest in when it comes to a sales coach and a salesperson, both. But they want to invest in salespeople for better results.
Great advice, Scott. Our next book is The Challenger Sale by Matthew Dixon and Brett Adamson. So you might want to pick that up. The subtitle is Taking Control of the Customer Conversation. And I am really excited to read this book, Scott, because I think the customer conversation is what selling is all about. That's the sweet spot for me, especially the questioning part. So I'm looking forward to this. I know I've used it as a resource before, but I've never read the whole book. But here's the good news for our listening audience. We're going to give away a hardcover copy of The Challenger Sale. And here's what you need to do to get into the random drawing. Go to getinthedoorpodcast.com, click on any episode, and fill out the podcast form that's on that episode page. It's kind of halfway down. Put in your contact information, and then write either a review of the podcast or a suggestion for a future topic. Do this by Friday, July 17th, so about a week, a business week from when this podcast will drop. And then we'll randomly select someone to receive the book. And your chances are really good of being a winner in that if you just go on to the podcast form and give us a little information about yourself and give us some ideas for future podcasts.
This segment of Get in the Door podcast is brought to you by The Art of Prospecting, your guide to getting in the door by Steve Kloida.
Steve Kloida was known internationally for increasing salespeople's ability to make solid appointments with qualified prospects. You too can learn this essential skill by ordering a copy of his superb book, The Art of Prospecting, your guide to getting in the door. In this book, Steve shares the top strategies and tactics he has developed, implemented, and personally tested with more than 1 million sales and prospecting calls. You can get his book on the website, theprospectingexpert.com. In addition, check out his other great online resources. Instant Sales Coaching, which will guide you through 5 online success modules. A guided prospecting process entitled Call Reluctance Transformer, and the Magnetic Selling Strategies Workbook, a detailed step-by-step guide to increasing your sales. Get any of these valuable resources at theprospectingexpert.com.
We're really lucky to have Greg Pomerantz with us today. I've known Greg for a few years. He's worked with a few of my clients when it comes to marketing and really filling in that gap that is between generating revenue and awareness, the marketing step, and then how do salespeople get conversations with qualified prospects? And Greg does a really great job of completing that blank when it comes to bringing the interest in and attracting the right person. Greg, if you just want to share a little bit about your background and what you've done and what you're most proud of, you can kind of give some context to every advice that you're going to be giving us in the future.
Yeah, Greg, thanks for being on with us today.
Oh, this is fun to be on with you guys. I appreciate the opportunity. And from a background perspective, I guess the most interesting thing is I actually started out as a sales guy. I spent 6 years selling building materials before I went into marketing. I spent, 15 plus years doing big company marketing in the packaged goods arena, things like General Mills, Pepsi, Conagra Frozen Foods. And for the last 15 plus years, I've worked primarily with family-owned businesses here in Minnesota, doing marketing, helping them develop a marketing plan. Something you said earlier made me smile because it's, you can have big goals, but you got to have little steps before you can get to those big goals. And that's what a marketing plan is. I also am 100% dedicated. Any expense that you're spending on marketing needs to drive sales.
So true.
So I'm all about driving revenue.
What do you see as some of the challenges that companies face when it comes to sales and marketing and how they don't work together effectively?
It can create so many problems. Ultimately, some of those problems will be seen by sales and profits eroding. Marketing needs to understand that especially if it's a B2B business, sales has closer contact with the customers and the prospects. And sales should have to be able to easily communicate to marketing what they're learning in the field so that marketing can develop effective programs that will produce the ROIs that you're looking for. Meanwhile, marketing is sitting in the reported ivory tower, doing market level analysis, understanding the customers, looking at the market in general. And they need to share what they're learning with sales. Marketplaces change fast. In the last 4 months since the pandemic started, we've seen a huge change in virtually every market. Online sales have gone crazy. We all know that. Both sales and marketing need to understand what's happening as these markets change so you can develop the programs for the business. The other thing that can happen, and I've lived this nightmare, is when the incentive-based compensation for marketing and sales are based on entirely different things. And salespeople, when I was in sales, I was going to do whatever I had to do to hit my number, which is doing something different. When I'm in marketing, I'm still going to try to hit my number, but it's a different number with different KPIs that are measured against.
So can you give an example of why they tend to break down or how they're measured differently?
So, when I was in the food business, the sales guys were measured on shipments, cases shipped.
Okay.
Marketing was measured on profit of your business. What I remember, and this was early in my career in marketing, we'd be asked by sales to say, hey, well, we need an extra incentive for this customer, that customer, so we could hit the number. And then there were some embedded costs that marketing didn't have visibility to. Once those costs hit, the profit number was down. Does that make sense?
It does. I think of marketing being rewarded by creativity awards that they win by different associations that they're a part of. And I think of sales teams as being rewarded by the amount of revenue that they bring into the company. So those seem to be the differences that come to mind.
Winning awards, my experience is marketing, maybe advertising agencies are into awards. The marketing departments are there to put together a business plan, put together a marketing plan, and drive those numbers. And it's all about hitting a bottom line number. You're committing to putting X amount of dollars in profit on the table.
Greg, in your experience, have you found that there's good communication between the sales and marketing teams?
Occasionally.
Yeah, that's not a good that's not a good answer, right? And I think that's what I've seen to be the challenge is they don't always know, the left hand doesn't always know what the right hand is doing.
Bill, it's all about marketing needing to really be in the field to understand what sales is dealing with all the time. And a lot of people don't do that.
Yep. And I think sales poo-poos whatever the marketing is doing anyway, right? So
and unfortunately vice versa. I mean, because I started out as a sales guy, I was always one of the marketing people that sales wanted to bring into the field because I knew I wouldn't be stupid in front of a customer. And so marketing sometimes can pontificate because they think they're really, really smart. And sometimes they think they're smarter than they really are. But again, marketing's role is to develop the programming that's going to drive sales and profit. Now we're not even talking about new products or things like that because that's tangential, but it's the same concept. But you got to have it. I mean, I work hard to have a good relationship with sales. I think all marketing people should.
So what are the most important things marketing can do to support sales?
First is you got to listen, understand the customer, understand the sales cycle. My wife is in the financial services business and her sales cycle sometimes is 10 years before someone will give her the money to manage. So if you're a marketer, you need to understand that. Marketing needs to provide the data-based analysis to sales so they can see what's going on. I mean, there's a lot more data now than when I started my career. And so it's easy, it's automatically generated, but it's how you interpret it that can be the interesting thing. I said earlier, marketing should get in front of customers. By doing that, you can develop a good relationship and a trusting relationship with sales.
What signals would indicate that the relationship is not working, Greg, between the two departments?
I think Bill alluded to it earlier. It's kind of like nobody's listening to each other. They're not cooperating. They look down at each other. Marketing will produce data and sales just doesn't believe the data.
Wow.
Sales will say, here's what the customers are saying, and marketing will go, oh, come on, that can't be real. You guys know what I'm saying happens.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, it does. I mean, there's finger pointing back and forth against, the two. Sales is going out on calls. They're not bringing the marketing materials that marketing department created. And the marketing department is going, we're generating all the leads, but the salespeople aren't closing them. And there's this finger pointing going back and forth between the two of them.
Well, I think what happens a lot too, Scott and Greg, is that marketing will create a lead, but sales didn't pay enough attention to how that lead got created. So when they go in to have the conversation, they talk about something different than the prospect called about. So marketing is venturing forth on program A and sales is on program B. And now when I go talk to them and I talk to them about program B, they're all confused and wondering why you're there.
Right.
So it's that breakdown in that, just what you said, Greg. They're not listening to each other. So I don't even know why this lead called us, but I'm going to tell them what I want to tell them, not what they're interested in hearing.
I think the perfect question for any salesperson to ask anytime anybody calls on an inbound call is, thanks for calling. What made you decide to call today? And you're going to find the motivation out right then and there as to why they decided to call, why they decided to call them, and why did they decide to call there today.
And I think the other thing is both marketing and sales need to understand what the fundamental key issues are that need to be overcome to convince the customer to buy. Sometimes they just don't do the probing to do that on both functions.
And sometimes it's just to get to the next step too, not necessarily buy, but just to get the next step, qualify them so that there's enough interest and curiosity and there's ready, willing, and able, and they're the right person. And we got the decision-making process down, and now we can really have a conversation.
Agreed.
So we talked about what marketing can do to support sales. What can sales do to take most effective use of the marketing campaigns or the marketing process?
I think the first thing is to really be open to the market analysis and appreciate the work that's gone into understanding how the market dynamics have shifted.
Because salespeople like to go by their guts a lot, right? Oh, I know this customer. I know who our customer is because I know it.
Right.
But you're
Right.
looking at it from a much deeper and more recent level.
And probably a little bit more of an analytic level where you're looking at it from a bigger area. I mean, I had a client one time where they had salespeople in 7 or 8 states, and they never really looked at the NAISC codes to see how many potential customers were there. They might have been selling to 1,000 customers. There were 8,000 in those states where they had salespeople. That was eye-opening analysis provided by marketing to sales to get them to think differently about what they might be doing and how they might be approaching the market. I think another thing is help ID. If sales can help identify the key, I said this earlier, the key issues to make the objectives, and then you have to trust marketing, that the programs are thoughtful, are well-developed, and will work. A smart marketer is going to want to test something before they just do it everywhere. And they're theoretically going to approach things with fact-based decision-making examples of what's happened. Sales should be open to that.
So does marketing get some pressure, though, from maybe the buying group or the manufacturing group when you have too much of something and we're going to start pushing this particular thing that may not be what the salespeople want to sell? Is there some of that pressure going on too?
I think you could probably find any kind of pressure in any organization at any point in time. Somebody decides that we're going to manufacture 10,000 of this little widget. And then turns out nobody really wants that little widget. And so now we got 10,000 little widgets.
That's when our customers don't know best, right?
Yeah. Or we built the inventory assuming we're going to get this big deal and the big deal didn't come in. And so now what do we do? But that seems more to me to be something that general management's going to say, look, we got to figure this out so we can cut our losses. And everybody ought to work together on a program like that, Bill.
Sure. So, Greg, what's your magic wand? What are the results that an organization can realize if we can get sales and marketing to collaborate more successfully?
The first thing is we should see sales increasing, and those sales should be more profitable, because that's the ultimate objective, is increasing of profitable sales. The next thing that I really like is we have better enhanced relationships with our customers, especially our key customers. There's more dialogue, people are happier, and all the customer scores that are going to be reported, well, sales and marketing will feel good about that. If you're doing a new product, having coordination between sales and marketing will greatly improve your chances of having a successful product launch. And finally, both sales and marketing want to win. And they'll win on their own personal incentive plans because they'll hit their objectives and they'll each make more money. And so, you do that one year, the next year, it's a whole lot easier to do it again.
Absolutely.
Glad you were with us, Greg. How can people get a hold of you if they want to connect or learn more about what you do?
I guess the easiest way is just give me a call. My phone number is 612-998-7351. Happy to talk to anyone and answer any questions that I possibly can.
Great. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, Greg, thanks a lot. Appreciate your time.
Appreciate it, guys.
This segment has been brought to you by the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program, presented by Scott Plum and Bill Hellkamp, the hosts of the Get in the Door podcast.
Business is heating up, and now is the time to get back on the selling track. While others wait for the market to improve, prospects and opportunities await you now. Perhaps you want to be more productive on your prospecting, or you'd like to increase your closing percentage. Maybe having meetings online is not as comfortable as being in person. Sales reps are telling us they need some honest accountability and skill development to rise above the competition. Whatever your reason, this is the perfect time to engage with an experienced sales coach. That is why the host of Get in the Door podcast, Professor Scott Plum and Bill Hellkamp, have developed the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program. For only $495, you can receive personal coaching from the same sales professionals you enjoy on this podcast. It all starts with a discussion to give us your insights into your specific goals, challenges, needs, and motivation. After your 1-hour online session to jumpstart your coaching process, you will receive 5 more half-hour individual coaching sessions to enable you to make improvements over time and create new habits. Most salespeople make their money back with just one sale. Go to getinthedoorpodcast.com incentivebased.com to contact Bill or Scott about the Jumpstart Sales Coaching Program. Do you believe you deserve better results? Now is the time to invest in yourself and invest in your future.
Well, we wrap up today with our golden nugget. This one is from Estee Lauder, who is a very successful businesswoman. She said, "I have never worked a day in my life without selling. If I believe in something, I sell it, and I sell it hard." And when I read this, Scott, I thought of you.
Wow.
Because you always talk about if you got a cure for cancer,
Right.
you ought to be out telling everybody about it.
Yeah. And I actually adopted that from Steve Kloida. He used that line a lot. And I thought, boy, there's not a better example than using that to really talk about a qualified prospect. And our goal is to find a qualified prospect. And she really knew her audience, Estee Lauder. I mean, and when she knew her audience, she was very persistent. And when you have a perfect fit and you know somebody that's an ideal prospect, an ideal client, you want to be persistent.
Yep.
And you want to follow up and you want to continuously try to get in front of them and get into a conversation. And then hopefully when you do that, you have a meaningful conversation when you end up getting in front of them.
But you can only have that passion if you believe in your product or service.
So true. So true.
You got to have that.
So all of our show notes today will be on the website, getinthedoorpodcast.com. Visit the website. There's some resources there. There's past episodes. There's a form you can fill out. We welcome your comments, your feedback. You can learn more about the coaching program there. And we look forward to staying in touch with you.
And fill out one of the forms so you can get in the running for the free book, for our next book, The Challenger Sale. We are going to finish up the magic of thinking big at our next podcast, Chapter 13. How to Think Like a Leader is our final chapter. Our key topic will be advantage questions. And if you don't know what advantage questions are, you better listen to the podcast. Thanks for being with us.
Good selling.